One more, Senator Lee's here.
One more. Senator Merkley, do you have any further thoughts on Senator Graham?
Well, welcome so much to the Senate and to this committee. And I'm sure if Lindsey had known the path that lay ahead, he would have hoped that you would be able to be here. I was always very struck by the role he played in supporting you with the loss of your parent.
We have our quorum.
And that is kind of a beautiful human act for a brother to stand in and really support a younger sister and in multiple ways. And Lindsey and I are both blue-collar kids, and there's not that many of us here in the Senate. And I think it brings a different perspective. There's a lot of senators here who come from a background that is very elite, very wealthy, and they have a hard time understanding the challenges that ordinary families face. That certainly wasn't a challenge for Lindsey, and I think that the Senate is far better to have more folks who understand the challenges of families that are struggling. And Lindsey and I disagreed on a whole lot of things, but we often did conspire behind the scenes on some of the amendments and appropriations and plotted out how we could get just one more vote to pass an amendment in that committee. Sometimes he'd say that this is not something I can help you with publicly, but I'll see what I can do to boost the outcome. And other times we shared a vision on an amendment. Here in this committee, we fiercely disagreed. But as soon as we were through proclaiming how our vision was right and the other side's vision was wrong, we had a good time together. And that's what I think the chairman was referring to about the ability to disagree on policy and still respect and work together and enjoy each other. And the Senate has much less of that now that our families generally don't live here and don't know each other. So Lindsey was an element that tied us together in ways that we need a lot more of here. So welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here. And I hope I can conspire with you a few times in the years ahead. Thank you.
Thanks, Senator Merkley. A quorum now being present, we will now move to the vote. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Grassley.
Aye.
Mr. Crapo.
Aye.
Mr. Marshall. Mr. Cornyn. Mr. Lee. Mr. Kennedy. Mr. Ricketts. Mr. Moreno. Mr. Scott. Ms. Graham. Mr. Merkley.
No.
Mrs. Murray.
No by proxy.
Mr. Wyden.
No by proxy.
Mr. Sanders.
No by proxy.
Mr. Whitehouse. Mr. Warner.
No by proxy.
Mr. Kane. Mr. Van Hollen.
No by proxy.
Mr. Lujan.
No by proxy.
Mr. Padilla.
No by proxy.
Mr. Chairman.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, the yeas are 11, the nays are 10.
The nomination is reported favorably. Just so you understand the order, if people want to stick around and reminisce about Lindsey, we have Senator Cornyn, then Whitehouse, Kennedy, Kane, and Ricketts. Senator Cornyn?
Thank you so much, sir.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I'm going to have to leave to go to the Finance Committee, but I just want to make sure we welcome Darlene and into the Senate. And we all have our memories of Lindsey. I think he's probably one of the funniest human beings I ever met. I always thought that being compared to me, kind of a short in stature, that growing up, he must have been one of those kids who got everybody, who started trouble and then left it to the bigger kids to fight it out. But he always, he was so well-spoken that he could basically, talk an Eskimo into, buying an ice house. he was a very talented guy. I know he loved this country. I know he loved Darlene and his family. And he was dedicated to our national security in a way that is really extraordinary. And one of the questions that people have asked me is who's going to fill that gap? And I said, it's not obvious to me who could or who will try to fill that gap. And the other talent he had that is extraordinary is his ability to communicate with President Trump. And I don't know whether there's anybody who can fill those shoes, but we certainly will miss him. And thank you for giving me a chance to say a few words.
Thanks, Senator Cornyn. Senator Whitehouse, I know you traveled a lot with Lindsey.
Yeah,
Led the delegation to the Munich conference a number of times. So again,
I had the chance as ranking member in Environment and Public Works, where Lindsey served, to say a few words when the drape and flowers were still on his seat. So I'll just welcome Lindsey's sister to this Senate and to this committee. I think the Senate suffers as a result of this loss. We are a grimmer and a dumber place without Lindsey Graham. Our prospects as a body are narrower. Our boundaries are more constrained and, frankly, more tedious. Many of us will miss him, but I think the institution will miss him most of all. I hope that in the months and years ahead, colleagues prove me wrong, but I think we lost a pretty vital force for progress in this body.
so let's dedicate ourselves to make sure that's not a self-fulfilling prophecy. I mean, we're going to miss his wit. There's no doubt about it. We're going to miss his, again, his demonstration of how to work together. It's maybe a wake-up call. But listen, I appreciate, the friendship you had with him. And I know how, again, we all deeply miss him. But thanks for those comments. Senator Ricketts.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And Darlene, again, welcome to the Senate. Great to have you here. Obviously, we all wish it was under different circumstances. Lindsey was a friend of mine as well. And I think the thing that I will highlight is just how, and I know you know this, how blunt he was sometimes. And he would just dive into different topics and in areas where most people maybe would be a little bit more circumspect. And I'll just share one story because, frankly, there's a lot of stories we can't share, at least not in a public forum like this. But one of them was we were at the French ambassador's residence for dinner, and we were waiting for Lindsey to show up. He had gone to the embassy instead of the residence. And so we sat down for dinner, because we've been waiting a while. We sat down for dinner, and Lindsey walks in, right? So we're all sitting around the table for dinner with the French ambassador. Without saying anything else, he sits down at the table, turns to the French ambassador and goes, "So we're going to start putting boots on the ground in Ukraine?" Because this was right after Macron had said something like that to that effect. And it's like, not even a hello. So, of course, the French ambassador was like, well. We didn't talk about that. So, but it was just, it broke the ice. And actually, we had a lovely evening. It was a ton of fun. And actually, it was one of the ways that Lindsey actually got to the heart of the matter around, things that people wanted to talk about and just get straight into it. You don't need to fuss around with things. So I will miss him personally as a friend. Again, all the things that people were saying as far as his wit and his intelligence were absolutely true. He loved this country, cared about making sure we were a strong nation, and cared about people in other nations. His concern for Ukraine and Israel and pushing back on dictators was something that he always thought we were safer when the dictators were losing. So we're going to miss that. And then, of course, his ability to work with all the senators here and really represent us in the White House from both the Republican side and the Democrat side. So I agree with my colleague there that we're going to miss him as far as bringing us together as a body, and not just as Republicans and Democrats, but also as Republicans too. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about my friend Lindsey Graham. He was a patriot by definition, and we are going to miss him greatly.
Thanks, Senator Ricketts. Senator Kane.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks for doing this. I really appreciate that we can do this. And Senator Graham, welcome. I told you when I met you the other day, just the simple thing, we really loved your brother.